there's going to be another Clemson, South Carolina matchup in baseball. But big picture on the baseball team before we get to Friday's game is this team started 6-2. They played in a really cool tournament, the Salute the Troops tournament. They played in Army and Navy and Air Force. For this baseball team, we talked a couple of weeks ago, and I know that not everybody's knee-deep into baseball right now and softball right now, still with basketball, especially with an elite program with like the women. Where do you see in the first 8 games or so maybe some pointers and places where they will lean on as they move forward throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, well, after that first week, and we talked about the cramps and kind of things that were going on after that first, the doubleheader that they had, and things have calmed down. I think they're kind of starting to find their groove, and it feels like it's coming at the right time. About to face their biggest test with Clemson coming up, but pitching has been great. I mean, they've a lot of guys who are, getting shutouts, pitching really well, and then the hitting was kind of the issue earlier in the year. I know we're still pretty early, but the first couple of games, and they're kind of finding their groove with that, I would say too. And so again, they've grown a lot in these first 8 games, and the biggest test so far of their season is going to be this Clemson matchup that they have coming up, and they were swept last season. So they're definitely going to want to get in there and, have some revenge against the Tigers with that.
Yeah, and just how big is this series against Clemson for Paul Mainieri? I know we had talked about how last season really wasn't the season that he envisioned. Coming in, not necessarily on the hot seat, but, things are starting to get a little bit antsy here. When you take a look at Clemson, obviously they hosted a regional last year, but they don't have Cam Canarella anymore. How big is this for Paul Mainieri?
I think it's huge for both Paul Mainieri and Eric Bakich. Like you said, Clemson looks a lot different than they looked last season as well, just in terms of their roster. And obviously they're off to an A-go start. They're playing great, but I think it's big for both coaches, and both coaches are kind of in a position where they're trying to prove that they have gotten their team in a good place to be able to compete towards the end of the year. And so it's a big game for both of them. I would say bigger, obviously, for Paul Mainieri, and just the fact that they did get swept last season, the fact that last season maybe didn't go the way that fans had hoped or that he had hoped. And so probably bigger for him, and it's going to be an interesting one because for both of them, it's their biggest test so far in the early season.
I just automatically assumed that, okay, they'll rotate. This game would be played 3 games at Clemson one year, then 3 games at South Carolina the next year. And then I look, and it's a cool situation where both teams get a home game, and there's a neutral site game. How unique is that to be able to have 3 different sites in 3 different days? And does that really increase the number of fans that come out because of different venues?
Absolutely. And I think it's just a lot of fun for all the players and for the fans. It's almost like they're doing a statewide tour, right? And Columbia is only about an hour and a half from here, probably like 2.5-ish hours from Clemson. But it's fun to make that drive and to follow your team. And I expect a lot of Clemson fans to be at South Carolina and a lot of South Carolina fans to be at Clemson. And, that neutral site game is going to be the best of both worlds, I think. It's a really cool setup that they have, the way that they do it.
Unbelievable stuff there. Do we have the Mainieri? Yeah. Let's listen to the head coach, Paul Mainieri, and then we'll get you out of here. One more question.
Eric came off the bench. He was a little cold, and he can make that play. He just missed it today. It took a little bit of a funny hop on him, and Dawson's been playing good defense. He just wasn't. It just didn't seem like he was quite ready for that when it was hit hard, and he just pulled up on it too soon. He's 6'4", so. You have to really be conscious of working your way up from being down, and he just took for granted a big hop, and I'm not overly concerned about it, but we'll make the correction, of course. Corrections.